Hello and welcome to Simply Sport with me, Neeraj Prabhu. The I-League this year is at a very interesting position at the end of the first phase, or rather because of the international break. We can analyze the performances of various teams in the I-League, and the most interesting part of the tournament so far is that Sargaonkar Football Club are at the top position, while the defending champions Churchill Brothers are finding themselves at the wrong end of the table. They are languishing in the second last position in 12th place. And to discuss about the I-League and about football in general, we have in our studio Savio Messias, the Vice Chairman of the AIFF Technical and Coaching Development Committee. Savio is the Vice Chairman and Baichung Bhutia is the Chairman of this committee. Savio, a very well-known football administrator as well as a football commentator. Savio, welcome to our studio. And to begin with, Savio, what are your opening comments about the I-League season so far?
Well, it's been a lot of surprises, especially Churchill doing so badly. Dempo also not doing too well, but I do expect Dempo to improve their performance. But the surprise packet has been Salgonkas. And I think it reminds me a couple of years ago when Salgonkas won the I-League. Nobody expected them to win it. They didn't have a great team, but they surprised everybody. And this year too, they don't have a great team, but they're going to be a big surprise, I think.
What are the things they have done rightly?
Well, I myself would not expect, did not expect Salgonkar to do too well. Number one, because I think they reduced their budget. But they have a great coach, I think. I think Derek has proved himself, especially with young players. I remember the days when he coached Vasco Club. We didn't have a big budget, but we did pretty well under Derek. Even he had a stint with Pune FC, which also wasn't a very big budgeted team, but he did pretty well with Pune FC, and now he's with Salgonkar. He's unlike other coaches who want the top players, the experienced players, but he loves working with youngsters, and I know for one he's a very, very dedicated coach. He's a coach who's always wanting to learn more and more about the game. In fact, this year he spoke about new training techniques which he has just learned. So that's a very good point in him.
So we can say the major boost that Sargaonkar have got is through their coach to start with, new coach Derek Pereira coming and doing so well. Then we see that Sporting Club de Goa also, they are doing really well. They are placed 4th right now, just 3 points behind Sargaonkar. Sporting, do they impress you?
Yes, hats off to Sporting. Sporting too have a very young team. In fact, a lot of under 23 players, and I think a good coach. And I would say one of the plus points with Sporting is they've been able to retain most of their players. And it helps in the combination of the team, and it gives more encouragement to the younger players who have been performing last year. So overall, Sporting also are doing a very good job, and I expect Sporting to do pretty well this year.
Yeah, another small budget team, comparatively small budget team, Sporting Club de Goa. And probably these two teams are also playing the most exciting brand of soccer in this season, isn't it?
Yes, very right. And it's nice to see some of the youngsters being called for the India camp, which is a feather in the cap of Sporting.
Then we go to the 5-time league champions Dempo Sports Club. Everybody knows that they have been in the rebuilding phase since the end of last season. They have a new coach in Arthur Papas, and they have a new set of players, new foreigners. So do you think they are finding it tough to get their combinations right to start with? So they're right now they're placed 9th in the table.
See, we have seen Dempo traditionally as a team having all experienced players, having some of the best players in the country, having had very good foreigners, and Dempo was a team which was always playing together for many years. Right. But now there's a change in the attitude, which I think is right. They've gone in for young players. They've gone in for a very professional coach, and I expect Dempo to do well. I've seen a couple of their matches recently, and especially the match against Mohnbagan. They were very impressive, despite some of the youngsters like from Paila and Arrows who had just come in a few days ago, but they were very impressive.
I think Bagan keeper made some outstanding saves in that match.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant. So I do expect Dempo to rise to the top half of the table after the break, and I'm sure they're going to do pretty well. They've got a lot of exciting young players.
Right. Churchill brothers, I mean, what a story. Defending champions last year, and they are finding it's very difficult out there. Yet to notch up a win this season. They are 12th in the 13-team league. What's going wrong with Churchill brothers? Or rather, what has gone wrong with Churchill?
Well, it's difficult to say. It's probably, you know, there have been problems with the coach. They had a new, they sacked Bhowmick, and now they brought him back again. Well, you know, sometimes when you change your players, change your coaches, it's quite difficult to maintain that consistency. And I looked some years ago when Churchill also won the I-League. The next year, I think they had difficulties. Yeah, they had a new coach and they had problems. They've lost some of their important players. They too also have reduced their budget, I think. But they'll have to put in a lot more efforts to go up.
But probably by the time that they put in their efforts and start the new phase, the second phase of the tournament, probably they will have to kiss their title chances goodbye, because they are already 14 points behind the leaders, Sargaonkar.
I think they cannot even dream of winning the I-League this year, retaining the I-League championship. They should now look at avoiding relegation or coming to the middle of the table. And now recently on the newspapers I read Randiganj, who are below them, have reinforced their team by taking around 5-6 players, including players like Subroto Paul and Gurmangi. So they are going to give Churchill a tough time.
Absolutely. This year there are some changes, some youngsters playing in the team because of the academy players rule. They are playing in the I-League teams in the starting 11, and there are some different foreigners. So what are your views on foreigners who are playing in a starting lineup vis-a-vis the Indian youngsters who need a break to play in the starting lineup?
Well, at the recently held meeting in Delhi, we, Baichung and myself, were very, very forceful. We said we need to reduce the number of foreigners for many reasons. One is, rather than reduce the number of foreigners, the AIFF kept on increasing the number of foreigners. As a result, not many Indian players are getting exposure. If you look at the forward line and the stopper position, these positions are mostly held by foreigners. So when it comes to the Indian team, it's all inexperienced players who have not had much practice. Second thing, many of the clubs are bringing substandard foreigners, I would say. I know I don't want to name some of them, but some of the foreigners who are brought in as strikers have yet to score a goal in the I-League. After now we've had about 7 or 8 rounds. 8 rounds, yeah. And they've not yet even been able to score a goal. So I think we need to reduce the number of foreigners, which will give more opportunities to our Indian players to progress.
Right. Before we get into the technical committee meeting details and discussion about the foreign players, let's also see these key results that we have seen in the I-League. Some of the results have been very shocking, and in other words, they are good, encouraging for the lesser known teams. To start with Shillong Lajong FC, on the first day of the season, they defeated Dempo Sports Club at home by 3-0. And there are so many results here. Rangdajid United recently held Sargaonkar to a 2-2 draw. So, what would you say is your most shocking result of the season so far?
Dempo losing 3-0 was shocking, and especially on the home ground. But I think Dempo did have some teething problems in the beginning. The coach had some visa issues. He was traveling overseas, and probably he didn't have enough of time. And then I think he was attending a course and coaching program course in Mumbai, so he hadn't much time with the team. Salgonkar's drawing with Randiganj was also a surprise. But I think sometimes inconsistency happens with these players, with teams which don't have experienced players. With a bunch of youngsters, these type of things happen.
And even the game East Bengal at home, they lost to Sargaonkar FC by 3 goals to 2. East Bengal till then were considered to be a formidable unit for the season, but Sargaonkar went to Kolkata and beat them by 3 goals to 2.
Yes, can you imagine Sargonka beating East Bengal in a home ground and then going and losing with, drawing with Randiganj, who are right at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's...
So it's been that kind of a season, isn't it?
But it's an interesting league.
Absolutely
a very interesting
unpredictable league.
Yes.
So, where do you see this going? Do you see the trend changing and the big name teams getting themselves up in the table? What do you see happening?
I think the Calcutta team, especially Mohan Bagan, and now with Odafa coming in.
Yes. He's a big player. He was missing from the line.
Well, East Bengal have been having some issues regarding the coach,
Yep.
which could destabilize the team also. Mohammedan Sporting also have been strengthened, so I think those teams are going to be...
They have looked impressive. They
Yes.
are at 7th position right now. They have
Yes.
looked good. Mohammedan Sporting. Also, we see the teams that had finished towards the bottom last season. They have come up. Like Shillong Lajon, they were 11th to finish the last season. They are now placed 5th. Although these are early days in the season, but there are a lot of good signs, isn't it, for Indian football? If we go by the face of the I-League situation right now, the positions being jumbled up. So, do you think the public at large, would they be interested by what is happening in the I-League this time around?
Yes, it is going to be an interesting I-League, but then sometimes, you know, when there's long break, sometimes the teams who have a good rhythm tend to sometimes, you know, the rhythm gets disturbed.
Right.
But not always, but it does happen sometimes. It also, the break also gives some of the teams who are not been doing too well to recover and perform better. So a break always is quite, you know, you can never say what's going to happen after a break.
But whatever has happened should get the Indian public at large interested, because it's unpredictable, isn't it?
Definitely, it's going to be an exciting league.
And now coming up to the recent technical committee meeting that happened, AIFF committee, you were there and Chairman Baichung Bhutia were there. Also, I understand India coach Wim Koemans was also present at the meeting. So what was the, briefly, the outline of the meeting? What were the main points of discussion?
Some of the major issues was, one is we are strongly recommended to the executive committee that they should reduce the number of foreigners, and they should bring in good decent foreigners. Now they've asked us to come out with some guidelines, which is, I think so, it's quite difficult. We'll have to wear our thinking caps and really check how we can distinguish good foreigners from you know, useless foreigners, average foreigners. We have also decided that
I would like to interrupt you here. On whatever you have seen in the I-League so far, what do you think broadly is the standard of the foreigners playing right now in the I-League?
I would say just about 50% of them are impressive, and many of them are really not impressive. Right. Well, sometimes you do have to give the foreigners more time, because they find it difficult to adapt to Indian standards, Indian gameplay, right, and other factors. And some of them are also little overage players, you know. So this tight scheduling of matches also affects their performances. Like Hugo, he's quite a senior player and playing twice in a week. So maybe now with the Reliance League being scrapped, the dates between matches, the gaps between matches would be greater. So it might help the players recover.
So you were making the point about how to identify the quality foreigners while bringing.
That's going to be quite a difficult situation, because, like, let's say we come up with a rule saying that you need to employ players from the Premier Leagues. Now you can't distinguish between the La Liga or the English Premier League with a league in some of the lesser known European countries, like a Polish league or maybe, anyway, you know, some of the smaller European countries. So we would have to, you know, really think a lot on this, and I plan to get some input from some of the footballing experts overseas and see how we can come out with a solution.